At 4:11 a.m. tomorrow morning, there's a ring of fire eclipse in Aquarius, and I need you to understand something that most abundance coaches won't tell you. This eclipse doesn't care about your manifestation practice. It doesn't respond to your vision boards. It doesn't reward your affirmations. This eclipse responds to one thing only, whether you're awake when it hits. And I don't mean spiritually awake. I mean literally, physically awake at 4:11 a.m. when the ring of fire opens, because the women who are going to emerge from this eclipse wealthy, the ones who are going to quantum leap into a completely different financial reality, they're not sleeping through it. They're conscious, they're present, they're meeting the portal with their eyes open. And here's what's really wild about this. The broke women, the ones who are going to stay exactly where they are, they won't even know it happened. They'll sleep through the most powerful wealth activation of the decade. They'll wake up at their normal time, check their phone, see posts about the eclipse and think, oh, I missed it. And they'll be right. They missed it. Not because they didn't know about it, because they weren't willing to sacrifice their comfort, their sleep, their normal routine to actually show up for the moment that changes everything. If you've been following this series, you know I've been preparing you for this eclipse for days. The purges, the disconnections, the silence, all of it was leading to this moment. Tomorrow at 4:11 a.m. Pacific, 7:01 a.m. Eastern, the ring of fire opens, and the women who are there, who are conscious, who are ready to receive, they're going to be born into a completely new wealth consciousness. But you have to be awake, you have to be present, you have to prove through your physical presence that you're actually serious about this transformation. And most women won't. And that's why most women stay broke. Inanna had to die completely before she could become queen. So do you. Let me tell you about Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of love, war, and sovereignty. She decided to descend the underworld to visit her sister Ereshkigal, and at each of the 7 gates she had to remove a piece of her power, her crown, her jewelry, her royal robes, until she arrived at the throne of the underworld completely naked, completely powerless, and Ereshkigal killed her, hung her corpse on a hook like a piece of meat. For 3 days, Inanna was dead, completely dead, not metaphorically dead, actually, fully, corpse-level dead. But here's what most people miss about this story. Inanna chose this. She walked into her own death, knowing what would happen. She surrendered every piece of her identity, her power, her status, her wealth. She let herself be completely destroyed. And only after that complete death, only after 3 days of being a corpse, was she allowed to rise. And when she rose, she wasn't the same Inanna who descended. She was the queen of heaven and earth. She had power over both the living and the dead. She had sovereignty that couldn't be taken because she'd already lost everything and come back. That's what tomorrow's eclipse is offering you. A death, a complete death of who you've been. The version of you that's been performing femininity to get approval. The version that's been accessible to prove your worth. The version that's been community-oriented because you're afraid to stand alone. The version that's been nice and soft and giving because you think that's how abundance comes. All of that dies at 4:11 a.m. tomorrow, if you're awake, if you're present, if you're willing to meet your own death consciously. But here's the thing about eclipse deaths. They're only deaths if you're conscious for them. If you're asleep, you don't die. You just keep being the same version you've always been. The eclipse passes over you, the ring of fire opens somewhere else, and you wake up the same broke, performing, accessible woman you were the day before. That's why being awake matters. That's why 4:11 a.m. matters, because you can't die in your sleep, and if you don't die, you can't be reborn. What's actually happening at 4:11 a.m. and why the rich women are already awake. So let me break down what's actually happening tomorrow morning, because the mechanics of this matter. At 4:11 a.m. Pacific time, the moon passes between the Earth and the Sun at 28 degrees Aquarius, but because the moon is slightly farther from Earth, it doesn't completely block the Sun. Instead, it creates a ring of fire, an annulus, a perfect circle of light around darkness. In astrology, annular eclipses are different from total eclipses. Total eclipses are complete blackouts, complete deaths, complete endings. Annular eclipses are deaths with a witness. The light stays visible even in the darkness. There's a consciousness that remains even as everything else dies. And that consciousness, that ring of light, that's what allows the rebirth to happen with awareness instead of just happening to you. But here's what makes this specific eclipse so powerful for wealth. It's at 28 degrees Aquarius. That's called the anaretic degree, the very last degree before a sign changes. It contains all the wisdom, all the lessons, all the mastery of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign of revolution, of breaking from the collective, of sovereign individuality within community. This eclipse is the final exam on everything you've learned about being in the world, but not of it. About being connected but not controlled, about being part of the collective without sacrificing your sovereignty, and it's squaring Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of sudden change, unexpected breakthroughs, revolutionary shifts. Taurus is money, resources, material wealth, physical security. When an eclipse squares Uranus, the changes aren't gradual, they're instant, they're shocking, they're the kind of shifts that make you look at your life before and after and barely recognize the difference. The women who are awake at 4:11 a.m., who are conscious when this ring of fire opens, they're going to receive downloads, sudden insights about wealth that completely change their relationship to money, unexpected opportunities that show up out of nowhere, revolutionary ideas about how to build abundance that bypass all the old paradigms. But you have to be awake to receive them. You have to be present. You have to have your consciousness available when the portal opens, because these downloads don't wait, they don't repeat. They come through once at 4:11 a.m., and if you're asleep, you miss them. The rich women, the ones who actually know how wealth works, they're already planning to be awake. They've already set their alarms. They've already cleared their schedule for tomorrow morning. They've already created space to be fully present when the ring of fire opens, because they understand something that broke women don't. Wealth doesn't come to you while you're sleeping. It comes to you when you're willing to be uncomfortable, when you're willing to disrupt your routine, when you're willing to sacrifice your comfort to show up for the moment that changes everything. Aquarius, you're the sacrifice and the queen simultaneously, and tomorrow you'll understand why. If you're an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, tomorrow's eclipse is in your sign, and I need you to really understand what that means. This isn't happening to you. This is you. You are the eclipse. You are the death and the rebirth. You are the sacrifice and the queen simultaneously. And at 4:11 a.m. tomorrow, you're going to feel it in your body in a way that might actually scare you. Here's what I think is going to happen. Around 4:11 a.m., you're going to feel this pulling sensation, like something is being extracted from you, like pieces of your identity are being removed. Your need to be liked, your performance of community, your accessibility, your nice girl programming, all of it is going to start dissolving. And if you're awake, if you're conscious, you'll be able to feel exactly what's being taken. You'll be able to name it. You'll be able to see clearly what pieces of yourself were never actually yours. But if you're asleep, you'll just have weird dreams. You'll wake up feeling off. You'll have this vague sense that something changed, but you won't know what. And that unconscious death, that's the dangerous one, because you lose the old identity without consciously choosing the new one, and the universe fills that void with whatever's closest. Usually more of the same patterns you've been running, just slightly different packaging. The women who are awake, who are present at 4:11 a.m., they get to choose what fills the void. They get to consciously decide what version of themselves rises from the death, and for Aquarius, that choice is critical, because you're the sign of the collective. Your default programming is community, connection, accessibility, and the wealthy version of you, the sovereign version, she has to actively choose not to default to that. She has to consciously decide to be the individual who serves the collective from a place of overflow, not depletion. Between now and tomorrow, at 4:11 a.m., I need you to get clear on one thing. Who do you want to be when you rise from this death? Not who you think you should be, not who would make other people comfortable. Who do you actually want to be? The Aquarius who's everyone's friend but has no boundaries, or the Aquarius who's selectively available and charges premium prices for her energy, the Aquarius who performs community to prove her worth, or the Aquarius who builds wealth and then decides which communities get access to it? You have to decide before the eclipse, because at 4:11 a.m. the death happens whether you're ready or not. And whatever version you've been holding in your consciousness, that's what gets born. So tonight, before you sleep, I want you to write it down. I am rising as, and fill in the blank with the wealthiest, most sovereign, most powerful version of you that you can imagine. And then tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., when the ring of fire opens, read it out loud, declare it, claim it, because that's how you make sure the right version rises. Leo, your invisible power becomes visible tomorrow, and the world won't know how to handle you. Now, Leo, sun, moon, or rising, this eclipse is opposite your sign, and in 6 months, there's going to be another eclipse in Leo that completes this axis. But tomorrow's eclipse is the activation. It's the moment when everything that's been building invisibly becomes visible. And I need you to be ready for that visibility, because it's not going to be gradual, it's going to be instant, and it's going to be intense. Here's what I think is going to happen for you. For the past few weeks, maybe months, you've been building something, a business, a skill, a creative project, a new version of yourself, and you've been building it quietly, in the dark, without the usual Leo fanfare, without the performance, without the need for constant validation. And that's been uncomfortable for you, because Leo is the sun. You're designed to shine, you're designed to be seen, and all this invisible work has probably felt wrong. But tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., that invisible work becomes visible, suddenly, unexpectedly, in a way that you can't control or curate, and the version of you that gets revealed. It's not the performed version, it's not the version you've been carefully crafting for public consumption. It's the real version, the one you've been building in private, the one that's actually powerful, instead of just performing power. And here's what's going to be intense about this. People are going to react, because this version of you, this sovereign, quietly powerful, selectively available version, it's going to challenge everyone who's been benefiting from the old performing Leo. The people who've had unlimited access to your energy, they're going to feel the scarcity. The people who've been getting your radiance for free, they're going to suddenly realize it has a price, and they're not all going to handle it well. Between now and tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., I need you to prepare for that reaction, because some people are going to celebrate your power. They're going to recognize that this version of you is more valuable, more magnetic, more worth investing in, but others are going to punish you for it. They're going to call you cold, unavailable, not the same person you used to be, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be so certain of your new value that their discomfort doesn't make you shrink back into the old performance. The wealthy Leo, the sovereign Leo, she doesn't need everyone to love her. She just needs the right people to invest in her. And tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., you're going to find out who those people are. The eclipse is going to reveal it. Suddenly, clearly, undeniably, some people are going to step up. They're going to see your new value and match it with investment, support, reciprocity. Others are going to step back. They're going to reveal that they only valued you when you were accessible, when you were performing, when you were giving your light away for free. And both reactions are information. Both reactions are helping you build the wealthy version of your life. Because the people who stay, who invest, who reciprocate, those are your new foundation. And the people who leave, who complain, who want the old version back, those are the dead weight that needed to be released anyway. The eclipse just accelerated the process. Libra, the wealthy woman chooses sides, and tomorrow you'll finally pick one. Okay, Libra, sun, moon, or rising, I need to be really direct with you about what's happening tomorrow. This eclipse is forcing you to choose, and I know that's your worst nightmare, because you're the sign of balance, of seeing both sides, of keeping everyone happy. But the wealthy version of you, she doesn't balance, she chooses. And tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., you're going to have to make a choice that can't be undone. Here's what I think that choice is. On one side, there's community, connection, being liked, keeping the peace, maintaining relationships, being the person everyone can count on. On the other side, there's wealth, power, sovereignty, boundaries, selective availability, being the person who only shows up where she's valued. And for your whole life, you've been trying to have both. You've been trying to be wealthy and liked, powerful and nice, sovereign and accessible, and it's kept you stuck. because you can't have both. They're mutually exclusive at a certain level of wealth. The eclipse tomorrow is going to make that mutually exclusive nature undeniable. Something is going to happen around 4:11 a.m. or in the hours immediately after that forces you to choose. Maybe it's an opportunity that requires you to disappoint people. Maybe it's a boundary that needs to be set that will upset someone. Maybe it's a price increase that will make you less accessible. But whatever it is, you won't be able to split the difference. You won't be able to find the balanced middle path. You'll have to choose. And here's what I want you to understand before that moment comes. The wealthy choice is always the one that makes other people uncomfortable. Always, because wealth requires scarcity. It requires selectivity. It requires saying no to people who expect yes. And that inherently disrupts the balance. That inherently makes people uncomfortable. And if you choose their comfort over your wealth, you stay broke every single time. Between now and tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., I want you to practice making uncomfortable choices. Small ones. Cancel plans you don't want to keep. Say no to favors you don't want to do. Stop explaining yourself when you set boundaries. Get your nervous system used to the feeling of disappointing people in service of your own sovereignty. Because tomorrow that feeling is going to intensify. And you need to be able to sit with it without immediately trying to fix it, balance it, or smooth it over. The wealthy Libra, she's beautiful in her imbalance. She's radiant in her selectivity. She's powerful in her willingness to let people be disappointed. And tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., you get to become her, but only if you choose her. Only if you're willing to let the nice girl version die. Only if you're willing to be awake when the choice arrives and consciously choose wealth over likability. The 4:11 a.m. protocol and what to do when the ring of fire opens. So let's get practical about tomorrow morning, because this isn't just symbolic, this is literal. You need to be physically awake at 4:11 a.m. Pacific, 7:01 a.m. Eastern. And here's what I suggest you do. First, set multiple alarms. Don't trust one. Don't risk sleeping through this. Set 3 alarms, 4 a.m., 4:10 a.m., 4:15 a.m. Make sure you're conscious when the eclipse hits. Second, prepare your space tonight. Clean your room. Clear your altar if you have one. Light a candle. Create a physical environment that feels sacred, because tomorrow morning at 4:11 a.m., you're going to be meeting the most important moment of your financial life. It deserves a sacred container. Third, write down your intention before you sleep tonight. Not what you want to manifest, what you're willing to die for. What version of yourself are you letting go of? What identity are you sacrificing? Get specific. I am releasing the need to be liked by everyone. I am releasing the performance of accessibility. I am releasing the belief that my worth comes from my usefulness. Write it down, because tomorrow morning you're going to burn it. Fourth, at 4:11 a.m. when the eclipse hits, light that paper on fire. Actually burn it. Watch the old version turn to ash, and as it burns, feel the death. Feel the parts of yourself being removed. Don't rush through it. Don't skip to the rebirth. Stay in the death. Because if you can be conscious during the death, you can be conscious during the choosing of what comes next. Fifth, after you burn the old version, sit in silence for at least 20 minutes, maybe an hour if you can. Just sit. Don't fill the void immediately. Don't start affirming the new version. Just be empty. Be the ring of fire. Be the darkness with the consciousness still present. That's where the download happens. That's where the revolutionary wealth consciousness gets installed. But only if you're empty enough to receive it. And then, when you feel complete, write down what came through. The insights, the ideas, the knowing. Whatever downloaded during that silence, capture it. Because that's your new operating system. That's your wealth blueprint for the next 6 months minimum. And you're going to need to reference it when doubt creeps in, when the old patterns try to reinstall, when people pressure you to go back to the old version. By the time the sun actually rises, you should feel different, not better necessarily, different, lighter in some ways, heavier in others, more clear, more certain, more sovereign, and also probably a little raw, a little vulnerable, because you just died, and even conscious deaths hurt. why most women will sleep through this and stay exactly where they are. Here's what's going to happen for most women tomorrow. They're going to sleep through 4:11 a.m. They're going to wake up at their normal time, check their phone, see posts about the eclipse, and think, oh, I should have been awake for that. And then they're going to spend the day trying to do eclipse rituals after the fact, trying to tap into energy that's already passed, trying to catch a portal that's already closed, and it's not going to work. Not because the eclipse doesn't have lasting effects. It does, but because the wealth activation, the sovereign download, the revolutionary consciousness shift, that happens in the moment, at 4:11 a.m., when the ring of fire opens. And if you're not there, if you're not conscious, if you're not present, you don't get it. You get the general eclipse energy, you get some shifts, some changes, but you don't get the wealth consciousness upgrade. You don't get the sovereign activation. You don't get born as the rich woman version. And I think that's actually perfect, because it's the final filter, the final test. The universe saying, show me you're actually serious. Show me you're willing to be uncomfortable. Show me you're willing to sacrifice your sleep, your comfort, your normal routine to actually show up for your transformation. And most women won't pass that test. Most women will choose comfort. They'll choose sleep. They'll choose their normal routine. And then they'll wonder why nothing changed, why they're still broke, why the abundance isn't showing up. But you're not most women, or you wouldn't be here reading this. You wouldn't have made it through the entire Purge series. You wouldn't have gone silent. You wouldn't have disconnected. You wouldn't have proven through your actions over these past weeks that you're actually serious about becoming the wealthy version of yourself. And tomorrow at 4:11 a.m., you get to complete the initiation. You get to prove one more time that you're willing to do what broke women won't do. Be awake, be present, be conscious when the portal opens. Tomorrow morning, we meet at the Ring of Fire, and we die together. And we rise as queens. All right, this is it. Tomorrow morning at 4:11 a.m. Pacific, 7:01 a.m. Eastern, the Ring of Fire opens and I'll be awake. I'll be present. I'll be meeting my own death consciously, and I hope you will too. Set your alarms tonight. Prepare your space. Write down what you're releasing. And tomorrow morning, when the eclipse hits, burn it. Let the old version die. Sit in the void and receive the download that changes everything. And then, after the sun rises, after you've integrated what came through, come back to the comments and tell me what died, what was born, what downloaded during the silence. Because we're all going through this together. We're all being offered the same death, the same rebirth, the same wealth consciousness upgrade. And I want to know who showed up, who was awake, who chose to be born as the rich woman instead of staying asleep as the broke performer. This is the moment. This is the portal. This is the ring of fire that separates women who want wealth from women who actually become wealthy. I'll see you on the other side.